Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for not inviting my child's bully to her birthday party? My daughter is turning 6 in a couple of weeks, so we are throwing her a surprise birthday party. Her class had a end of the year party yesterday, so I decided to hand out her invitations while she was distracted. I gave all of her classmates invitations, except this one girl who has been bullying my daughter since school started. My daughter is Korean in a mostly white school, and this girl has apparently made it her life's mission to bully my child every day about it. She calls her mean names, makes fun of her eyes, the food she brings for lunch, and even has gotten physical. The teacher tries to separate them as much as he can, but it still continues. So I decided not to invite her. I didn't want anyone to ruin her birthday party, and I wasn't taking any chances. I picked my daughter up from school today, and her teacher asked to talk with me. He said it was really inappropriate of me to not invite the one girl, and just because my child can take a little teasing doesn't give me the right to not invite someone. I told him, unless he was going to make that girl's bad action suddenly stop, then she will not be allowed anywhere near my child's birthday. The girl's mom has tried to reach out a couple of times, none of which are apologizing for her daughter's actions. I feel bad that I have to not include her, as I was always the kid who never got invitations to parties, but my baby will always come first. My husband is on my side, but I still can't help but feel a little bad. Now for the top comments. NTA, a little teasing. The teacher has his head up his behind. I wouldn't allow a bully anywhere near my child. His characterization of it as a little teasing is the reason why the behavior continues. He's not approving of it, but he sure as shit ain't asked to stop it. He gives safe spaces to bullies and belittles the people they hurt. This guy's going to do a hell of a lot of damage to the kids unfortunate enough to pass through his classroom. NTA, but I would have probably emailed or mailed invitations vs handing them out at school. Then who you invite is no longer the school's business. My school had a policy that if you gave out invitations at school, everyone had to be invited. This is it right here. Not the a-hole for not inviting the bully, because why would you? But op is kinda tough at doing it at school, because what if there were other kids not invited whose feelings you actually would feel bad about hurting? NTA. And the teacher is the R for telling you you don't have the right to determine the guest list of your kid's party. I mean, what? Am I the antagonist for telling his poor family we are very well off? Okay, this is going to take a while. So me, 32F, and my husband, 30 male, have been together for 12 years now. Since the first day of our relationship, his family had something against me. On top of that, he was always the black sheep of the family. So, all we heard from day one was you two won't achieve anything. Her career is useless. You will be the beggars of the family. You better learn a useful skill than go after a university degree. As we progressed over the years, they always had something negative to add. You'll never be able to go to a vacation, since we worked throughout the year when we were broke, saving up. You'll never have what, insert someone else, has. Your relationship can't be strong with this or that. But, over time, we got to a point where we are well off. We founded a business together that brings passive income. We both have high-ranking managing positions in our companies. We bought an apartment to rent from what we saved. No credit, no mortgage. We don't have a single cent of debt. And still, these people keep talking down to us. So, I snapped a bit when they, once again, started with their shit. Along the lines of me not being a good wife as I don't cook for my husband, and I pay a woman to clean our house, and I work long hours, and we will never last. Well, I said that, actually, thanks to working long hours, I have the monthly salary I do, which is their yearly income, and my husband as well, and we have been happy for 12 years, and he never asked for another wife, and we don't fight over every cent, and we are making a future for ourselves. Suddenly, when I mentioned the number I'm making, there was silence in the room, and his aunt made this sad, pitiful expression. They stopped, but their annual income is very low, and they are financially unstable, and I feel like I hurt them with this. Made them feel bad about themselves. Just so I would vent a bit. Did I go too far? Now for the top comments. NTA. They are the ones who kept bringing up finances. And they will continue to, because now that they know Op and their husband have money, they will have their hands out all the time. NTA. They were making rude assumptions about your life. You simply corrected them. NTA. But be ready to be asked for money. A lot. Like. All the time. You should have just gotten some distance from them. But you've now opened a Pandora's box that will be hard to close without cutting them off. This, you goofed. Opus. Get ready to be guilted and emotionally manipulated for your money. It's pretty much guaranteed to happen. The other thing is that they will resent you even more. Now, in their minds, you are even more of another who is not like them. You're not the a-hole, but you put yourself in a difficult place now. Am I the antagonist for yelling at my son's classmate for trying to push a girl into the pool? I have a son in 3 road grade, and sometimes his class takes trips to the local pool during the summer. Last time it was my turn to chaperone, along with another parent, Olivia, and the teacher. In the middle of the day I saw my son and Olivia's son carrying one of their classmates towards the pool, and she was visibly struggling. I yelled at them to stop. I was too far away to stop them in time otherwise, which admittedly caused a little scene. I told them to put the girl down and apologize, and that they can't just push or move PPL around just because they are stronger than them. I said I know they were just having fun, but it's not okay to ignore someone when they clearly tell you no. Olivia got into an argument with me and said I was blowing things out of proportion. They were just playing. Now, I remember how through all my childhood I hated going to the pool with friends because the boys would inevitably throw us into the water or push our head underwater for a second just to get your hair wet. Even in college I was the special snowflake whenever I got upset over friends doing this to me, and I still find going into water with other PPL slightly terrifying thanks to their actions. Olivia disagreed and said adults, both men and women, shove each other into water all the time, and all is just in good fun. I told her I find this equally fucked up, and PPL who do this are bullies. I mean, they literally move you without your consent and cut off your air, drowning you for a few seconds. This has the power to give a kid nightmares. Olivia called me a stuck-up and said I had no right to lecture her son when he's done nothing wrong. Even though the little girl was visibly grateful for my intervention, Olivia didn't talk to me for the rest of the day. I still think shoving PPL underwater then laughing the aggression off is fucked up, but I never actually talked to anyone about this certain topic, and it is indeed a widely practiced thing between friends, both kids and adults. Was I really blowing things out of proportion? Am I the antagonist? Edit. The pool was shallow enough that her feet would have touched the ground. She wasn't in danger of actually drowning. Now for the top comments. NTA. If that kid wasn't a strong swimmer then something could have gone really bad. I probably would have done the same. So I wouldn't sweat it. Even if the kid was a strong swimmer doesn't mean she wouldn't have gotten hurt. I saw a kid get their leg broken from being pushed into the shallow end of the pool when I was 11. Just because it's water doesn't mean that it's safe to land in. Many people have gotten badly injured from being pushed into water. That's so true. There are so many things that could have happened to that child. NTA. You are teaching your son a valuable lesson about consent. Olivia is teaching her son to ignore consent. That's not only wrong, it's dangerous. Yes. Exactly what I came here to say. Am I the antagonist for refusing to allow my nephew and niece's dad to access their inheritance? I lost my older sister 12 years ago. She left her husband and 2 kids behind. In her final year of life the marriage had been rocky. Once she got sick he started seeing other people. Our family knew. My sister knew. But she didn't want to dump more trauma onto the kids by leaving him and potentially having the truth come out. So she stayed, and she tried to not dwell on the fact she knew he would have no problem acting as though she didn't exist. She made sure my parents, brother and I all had access and a relationship with the kids, so we could make a point for grandparents' rights if we needed to. When she died, she had set up a small amount of savings for both her kids, and after she passed, my parents took over the account and saving for her kids' future. For the last 4 years I have been left in charge of the account with the instructions my sister and parents left. My ex-Bill was sort of aware money was kept out of his reach. It bothered him, but not as much. He married fast after my sister and has a stepdaughter and a son with his wife. Over the years, stuff between him, my parents and I were off. He didn't want us having a relationship with the kids, but he also didn't want any sort of visitation being granted through the courts. He also didn't want the kids finding out he brought one of his hookups around when their mom died, or that he had cheated throughout her illness. I would like to say none of us would have, but my brother despises ex-Bill with such a heated passion that I could see him wanting the kids to choose us and abandon their father. But anyway, both my niece and nephew are now over the age of 18, so the money and the accounts were signed over to them. They were surprised to find it was there, but no less happy. Ex-Bill was pissed when he realized the sum of money was significant, and on top of gifts and experiences with my family over the years, the kids had real savings, and nothing was given to his other kids. He told me I should have allowed him access, that he could have made sure things were equal in his family with his kids. He said as the father of my nephew and niece he had a right to that money while they were minors. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA. He's angry he couldn't milk her even after her death. You followed your sister's wishes. NTA. Their mother left that money for her children, and not for her husband/ex rebuild his life with someone he was cheating on her with. Nonetheless, he and his new wife should provide for their children together. He cheated on your sister and had the nerve to complain about how you treated him. Wow. What he did to my sister is something I will take to my grave with me. I never thought I could hate someone who was part of our family, but he repulses me, and I wish my nephew and niece had a better person as their father. Am I the antagonist for kicking my sister and her kids out? So I, 26F, live in a 2-bedroom apartment with my fiance, 33 male, and at the beginning of last year my sister, 35F, and her kids were staying in a hotel. So I invited them to stay with me for a bit until they got on their feet. I work from home and gave up my home office so they could have their own space, which I didn't mind at the time because I didn't expect them to be here for very long. Fast forward about a year now, and they are still here. My sister started dating a guy around the end of last year, so most of the time, she leaves the kids here with us anytime they are not in school. Even though she never asked if we were willing to babysit, she just leaves them here. The kids argue quite a bit when she isn't here to break it up, which isn't ideal when I'm trying to work in the next room over. The kids also don't clean up after themselves, so my fiance and I are left to do it, and it can be extremely draining to clean up after 2 kids every day. My sister hasn't really made any attempt to try and find a place to move to, although I know it's nearly impossible to find a place to rent on one income. We are just fed up with everything and want our home back. So am I the antagonist for telling my sister and her kids they have roughly 2 months to find another place to live? Now for the top comments. NTA. I anticipate she will act shocked that you're asking her to leave, but she has clearly overstayed her welcome. Especially if she and her kids aren't cleaning up after themselves, and she is pushing child watching responsibility onto you. If I were you, I wouldn't even bring up that info about why you want her out. Just say, hey, it's been over a year. At this point I really want my office back and some more peace and quiet in my house. You need to start looking for a place to go within the next 2 months. After a year, even with no rent paid, OP is going to have to evict them. So don't tell them you've got 2 months. Give them the requisite notice to vacate as required by law. Without a lease, she is probably considered month-to-month tenant, but you would need to look this up in your local statutes. You might also need cause to evict. This situation might require a lawyer. NTA. But if there is one thing I have learned from this subreddit is that no one ever moves in briefly. If you invite someone into your home to live, you will have the parasite or parasites until you lose your shit and kick them out. The people who do invite people to stay and do have that person respect an agreed upon time limit probably don't have any reason to post here. What you read on here is only a sample of reality. Am I the antagonist for telling my parents to get off their asses? I, 20F, recently moved out of my parents' house. My parents have lived in my grandparents' house for about 5 years now, after being evicted from our apartment. Of course my grandparents let them stay there cause he's their son. But you would expect after at least a few months they would help with rent. Nope. They have never helped with rent once. And shortly after my grandma got breast cancer. So my grandpa had to pay for her medical bills. All by himself. They don't help with groceries, rent, a bill of any type. Absolutely nothing. I graduated high school about a year ago, and I stayed with them until I found a place to live. When I told them they got mad at me. They went on telling me to stay with them more, and I could help with my little sister. I told them it was time for me to leave and again. They proceed to tell me the same thing. I tell them that I'm moving and by the end of the month. After I told them that they got completely mad at me. Saying I don't love them or that I don't care about them. I got mad and told them that instead of getting mad at me for actually wanting to work they should look into getting a job too. And finally get off their ass. I feel bad now, and that happened about a month ago. I see them when our family gets together, but they don't say much to me. I feel horrible for telling my own parents to get off their ass. Now for the top comments. NTA, I feel horrible for you. Your parents are so lazy that they not only need their parents to be their parents, but their children too. Good for you for making moves to take care of yourself. NTA, your parents are freeloaders and were counting on freeloading off of you. If things ever went south with your grandparents, you did the right thing getting a job and moving out. They are in a rut that is not your responsibility to will them out of. They need to do that, as well as raise their own child. That is also not your job. Yeah, like unloading your sibling on you to probably raise, because you know raising kids is a lot of work and your parents are work and responsibility averse. No reason for you to have to watch help your little sister when neither work. Do they get unemployment or child tax credit? They need to get jobs and help out. Feel for your grandparents and wish they would grow a spine and toss your parents out, not the a-hole.